Hello, everyone. This is the most magnificent bird, Buckbeak, speaking to you today. And in today's video, I'm back at it with some more raiding with me. And not only will I be doing raids throughout this video, I'm also going to be doing my spoiler review of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, Season 1, Episode 6, the season finale, The Last Time. Yes, I know I'm a week behind on it, but we are finally here, and before we get started, I hope all of you are doing good and staying safe out there. I'm doing good and I'm staying safe for the most part. And yeah, let's not waste any more time. Honestly, I got a lot to discuss, so this is probably going to be a pretty lengthy video, I would imagine. So yeah, let's not delay it any further. Let's go ahead and get started, shall we? So I'm only going to do a couple of raids, and then I'm honestly going to get into it so I can go ahead and get into it and get it out of the way. Because I have a lot. What I have wrote down as far as notes, I actually cut a lot of it because it would have been it would have been even longer. So you guys today, if you choose to stick around to hear my thoughts and all of that good stuff, you are going to know whether if I like The Ones Who Live or Daryl Dixon better. I will reveal that answer, but I'm not gonna give away that answer right now. But I can tell you, spoiler alert, Dead City is still in last place. I mean, come on. There's no physical way that Dead City could have possibly moved up. Nah, not a chance. But the question is my ranking from, like, almost a month ago still the same? Well, you're gonna find that answer out, which I'm not going to give away that answer right now. Okay, I think this is going to be the last raid before I get into my spoiler review, because like I said, I have a lot to talk about, and maybe if we have time, discuss possible theories, or if I don't get to it this video, you know, there's possible theories that I could discuss regarding the future of The Walking Dead. Okay, that was an impulse. I just had to do one more. Okay, now, for those that don't want to hear any spoilers or you're not caught up, this is the time to go ahead and click off the video, or just simply mute the video if you still want to see me raid through teams. Or, if you want to stick around and if you're caught up, or if you don't care about spoilers, you can choose to stick around. So, for those that might be leaving or muting the video, I thank you for your time, and I'll catch you next time. Now, in 3, 2, 1, Here is my spoiler review of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, Season 1, Episode 6, the season finale, The Last Time. So, the episode starts with Rick and Michonne in bed, and they're just talking about how, how they're gonna, they're asking themselves, are they crazy about trying to go head to head with the CRM? And they're just talking about, well, yeah, they are, but they're gonna do it anyway. And Rick mentions to Michonne that we do need to tell the city, which is the CRC, I believe is what they're called. It's the city portion of the CRM that doesn't have the soldiers, but the civilians that are purely bees, in their ranking system. So, yeah, so the CRC end up finding out that, yeah, the CRM is not as, they're not as good as they appeared to be, which they are told that by Michonne and Rick, I assume, both of them. So, but anyway, I'm skipping ahead a little bit. So, both Rick and Michonne, they arrive at Cascadia Base. Rick arrives, through the front gates. He's got his hands up, and they let him in. And Rick, not Rick, but Michonne, rather, she has to sneak in because they suspect that she's dead, and, they can't, Rick and Michonne can't know that the CRM, they can't have the CRM knowing that they have a connection to each other. So, yeah, Michonne's got to go in one way. Rick, he goes in through the main front gates, and then, Thorne, she's happy to see Rick once, because Rick tells everybody what happened with the helicopter crash, and this is, where Rick and Thorne talk for the first time since Rick and Michonne tried to, escape the CRM. Thorne says, "You're really here with a," and she laughs before she says that, and Rick says, "Yeah," and then Thorne says, "You gave them the debrief? Now tell me what happened." And Rick says, "Well, there was turbulence. We went low to get out of it. We were struck by lightning," which is true, but obviously they were already out of the helicopter, so he is telling the truth by saying that. And Thorne says, "Yeah." Rick says, "We were going down over the water, and Michonne shoved me out. She saved my life, not hers, mine. So thank you for bringing her in." Obviously, he doesn't use Michonne's name. He uses her last name. It's like Bermune or something. I can't exactly remember it, but yeah, he says that Michonne shoved him out, which, I mean, she did, but under totally different circumstances. And then Thorne says, "No, you brought her in." Then Rick says, "Why don't we say it was Okafor, that we were just keeping his thing going?" Then Thorne says, "I used to think that giving up meant a lack of character and a weak will, but you and I gave up so much to be here, and now I realize that giving up can be a sign of strength, a commitment to something else bigger than one's self." So the whole point of that is Thorne she's truly committed to the cause of the CRM, and there's no potentially turning her to the light. So she's all in. She's drinking the CRM's Kool-Aid fully at this point because she has seen the Echelon briefing, which has been mentioned, but we'll get to exactly what that is in this episode. So, okay, so next, after that conversation, okay, so yeah, Michonne sneaks into the base, and Michonne ends up finding Jadis's room, which, you know what, I didn't catch on to this until someone told me. In last week's episode, when Jadis said that her name was Jadis Stokes, I didn't catch on that was actually Gabriel's last name, which is kind of interesting that she decided to use Gabriel's last name as her own last name. That's kind of interesting. That's kind of a telling sign that she deep down cared about Gabriel in one way or another, even though she was flippity floppy. I mean, but anyway, Michonne, she goes to Jadis's room to find the dossier about her connection to Alexandria, and her room is like a art gallery. I mean, you have paintings of Beale in one spot, you have a painting of Gabriel in one spot, and just other people. And she notices, as she's looking for the dossier, she notices the painting of Gabriel. And then back in season 7, I believe it was, when Jadis made that statue of a cat out of like wire, she happens to still have that in her room, and Michonne notices that, and that's where she kept the dossier, in the cat statue of, you know, when she made it into metal. And Michonne looks through it once she gets it, and she gets deeply upset about it, and then she just goes on to ripping it up. But the mistake there is she should have, instead of leaving the pieces in the room, she should have like just took the ripped up pieces with her, right? But I don't think that really comes back to bite her, so we got that. And then after Michonne destroys the dossier, she's about to leave the room, and one of the CRM soldiers, slides some mail under her door, and obviously her foot touches the back part of the heel of one of her shoes touches the envelope. And this woman says, "Stokes, are you in there?" Because, I mean, you know, she's thinking that Jadis is in there, not knowing that she's actually dead and gone at this point. And then Michonne obviously doesn't answer, so she's got to back up and hide toward the door and wait for her to open the door. And Michonne she strangles her out. She sees Michonne, and it's not that long of a confrontation. So she ends up strangling the woman out, and just, there you go, right then and there, done. Then after that, Thorne takes Rick to where Beale is at, because Beale wants to talk to Rick, because he's ready to give Rick the Echelon briefing. So Thorne pretty much tells Rick that this is it, you know, blah blah blah. And also Thorne tells Rick that you know, look, you need to just let that go. The way that Okafor was thinking, you just need to let that bullshit go and be done with it. So obviously Thorne is fully drinking the CRM Kool-Aid straight to the point. No redemption for Thorne at this point. So Beale is at this perimeter of Cascadia Base, and he's, you know, killing walkers, and Rick goes up to Beale. He salutes Beale, and then after they get done saluting each other, Beale says, "I never had to do this. I never had to do my 6 for citizenship, because I never really became a citizen. the end of the world and the beginning of the world, and we're the dead ones, Rick. We're kind of like them, but they only kill for food or out of compulsion. Isn't that right?" Rick says, "It is." Beale continues to say, "Our scientists haven't figured it out. Maybe they never will. But us, the other kind of dead ones, we have this. The sword that kills is the sword that gives life." And he will continue to say that multiple times. He's obsessed with the sword that kills, that it'll give life. Okay. And that's us. And, okay, that's the sword that kills is the sword that gives life. Okay. And that's us. We're the sword. I alone decided the path ahead, and I alone want to feel the weight of it. I never interrupt that time, but you are here after everything, and I'm humbled by that. So I'll share some time with you, maybe even ask you to carry some of that weight. And Beale just pats Rick on the shoulder, and that's the end of the first conversation, because their second conversation is very lengthy. So that's nothing compared to what we're gonna go through next. So let's see. They have their first conversation. Let me see what I want to go to next. Okay, so Beale gives Rick the echelon briefing, and that's part of their second conversation, so it's in here. So let's see, where's it at here? Okay, before I actually get into that, Michonne, she is walking around the, Cascadia base, and she ends up finding this room where they're going over these detailed plans about how they're going to go to Portland, and they're going to evacuate selective children, and then after they evacuate the selective children, they're pretty much going to destroy Portland. So that's their plan, because I have it right here. Where is it at? Oh man. He specifically says that, Beale, that is, he specifically says that they want to destroy Portland to be the supreme part of the CRM all over the United States and the world. So they want to destroy Portland, and then eventually they want to go around destroying every community in their path. That way they can be, nobody can touch, for world domination, pretty much. So, okay. So let's get into their second conversation. We're going to learn a little bit about Beale. We don't really know about Beale, but this is pretty lengthy. So here's their second conversation. Beale tells both Beale and Rick are back at his office. Beale says to Rick, after they sit down, Beale says, "Put your gun on the table, and then that prosthetic with the blade in front of me and away from you. I want you to reflect on your life, on all your lives, before and after, all the before and afters, all the things you did before this moment, because after this next moment, everything will change. What's the worst thing you did to make sure someone else survived?" And as he's asked this, Rick is thinking back to when he killed Shane, when he killed the cannibals at Terminus, and then he says that, I killed someone with my teeth, like they do. He's referring to Joe and the Claimers in that pretty gnarly scene. That's what he thinks about, and that's how he responds. And Beale says, I'm sorry you had to do that. And Rick says, oh, you don't have to be. Oh, no. Like, Bill, nah, he doesn't have any idea what they were. He has no idea what they were about to do to Carl and them. So, you know, that's the savage Rick that came out in that moment. He had to come out. Otherwise, you know, it wouldn't have been good. And then Bill says, still, it's a damn thing, isn't it? And Rick says, yes. Yes, it is, sir. Bill says, you made some extraordinary... Oh, lordy. Okay, let me see. Wait a minute. I can't... Okay, anyway. Bill says, you made some extraordinary... man, I cannot talk today. Alright, I'll just say this. I'll edit the word. You made some excellent choices, Grimes. I've given this briefing, the Echelon briefing, 2,533 times. Just me and the elite soldier in question, and the soldier in question has never been someone like you. Never. This is the first time. It's the start of what's next, and that couldn't be a more appropriate for today, a day completely about tomorrow. Bill continues to say, I grew up in Pittsburgh the same day my alcoholic father broke my jaw. I left home and landed a job at a VFW hall barback. I was 15. Those men and women at the VFW became my real parents. They were who formed me. So when I was 18, I signed up to fight. Okay, I signed up to fight. I went to Vietnam twice, but there was a whole journey beyond that. Fort Benning officer training. That's a callback to season 1, I believe, because Shane mentioned something about going to Fort Benning. So, okay, that's kind of a nice callback. So that's a little bit connected. That's great. Then the journey led me back to Pennsylvania, to its National Guard through its command. Thank God. I went away. I had to. I could have let the world take me away, but I came back like you. You said you saw what the federal forces did at the beginning. Rick says, I did. They bombed the cities. Okafor said they called it clearing disease vectors. Beale says vectors. Yeah, their word. I made the decision to take them on ourselves. Second Civil War fought on good Pennsylvania ground. There were 2 fronts, Pennsylvania and Philadelphia, and we were losing. We couldn't sustain 2 theaters of battle. Bill continues to say, in my hometown, we had an opportunity and I let the dead overwhelm their troops. I saved Philadelphia by sacrificing Pittsburgh, my enemies, my friends, my home. And after he says all of that, you can see that decision still somewhat weighs on Bill by his facial expressions. And I believe it is the actor, and the actor is, you know, he's doing a great job. And this guy, I've never seen him in anything. But anyway, he's, you know, for this particular scene, he's doing such a great job with his acting. He is on par with Andrew Lincoln, absolutely. And then Rick says, my dad taught me for better or worse. Sometimes things have to burn to bring things back. And Beale says, it was that the sword that kills is the sword that gives life. I killed my past and a whole city so another could live. Let me tell you the secret. Let me tell you the first secret, Grimes. The most likely outcome after all of the fighting and all the killing, the most likely outcome is that we're all going to die. That we're all going to die, okay? Our modeling shows that non-neurotic human life people now have 14 or so years left on this planet. Could be quicker. Disease with a billion wait a minute. Disease, I lost my track. Disease with a billion dishes out there succumbing and cooking in the sun, waiting to transmit God knows what to us, while it transforms into God knows what. And in the end, the most likely outcome that this rock will be cluttered with corpses to eventually rot into food for the trees. This is why we do what we do. Rick asks, what do you do, sir? Beale says, we're trying to beat the odds, Grimes. We have embeds, spies, in selected communities throughout the continent and the world to monitor them and to potentially sabotage them. So that's going to be kind of, I think that might be kind of important. They potentially had spies in the Commonwealth, so... But I think Beale kind of confirms right here, because he says that, listen, throughout the whole world, throughout all of America, we have spies in selected communities, and it seems like Lance Hornsby, it seems like he was working closely with the CRM potentially, so he kind of confirms that without really confirming it. I do believe the CRM, excuse me, not the CRM, I do believe the Commonwealth was a part of that, at least from Lance Hornsby's end. So he's kind of confirming that. And then Beale, he goes on to ask, is there someone that you loved most that you couldn't save no matter what you did? And Rick says, he says, my son, he says, my son, that's why I killed those men the way I did. And Beale pretty much says, what if I told you you never had to worry about losing anyone ever again? If there's anywhere that you were running to, it doesn't matter. Family, friends, a loved one, he's like, it doesn't matter. You could tell me and we could bring them in and they won't get touched as we were going to go on our path of destruction on other communities. But can Rick really trust that? I'm gonna say no, and I think Rick knows that he's just full of it, that he's just trying to, we don't know if Beale knows about Alexandria. He might just be legitimately saying, look, if you have whatever community or wherever you were going to run to, just tell us, and we'll bring them in, and we'll welcome them in, and, I'll take that chance. I took that chance on you. So let me make sure. Okay, so here we go. So I did forget this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it now. So Beale continues to tell Rick that the CRM destroys communities for resources and to ensure the city's security and secrecy above all. And then Beale and the CRM want to destroy Portland so they can be the supreme ruler of the world. They want world domination, you know. That whole deal. So it's, you know, the people in the city, you know, you gotta... It is kind of messed up that they... I mean, it is really messed up they don't know what the CRM is doing. But, like, the CRM, the soldiers themselves... I mean, it's kind of a... It's kind of a fickle thing. I don't know. So... Okay, so he had mentioned that there were... Beale had mentioned that there were spies throughout select communities in the world and in the continent. You know, great. And then we're getting to the end of the conversation. There was a little bit more, but I wanted to cut this down as much as I could. So then Beale says, I think the next leader in the next decade, that might be you, Rick. You tried to escape so many times, but you came back. You've become a powerful story. And then it ends, the conversation ends where Beale, he tells Rick to swear on the sword. And that's the same thing that Okafor said to Rick right before Okafor died. But he said, swear on the sword, but don't let it take. So, in that interpretation, that tells me at least that Okafor was legit about trying to change the CRM, which before this point, we weren't sure if Okafor was genuine in wanting to change the CRM for the better, but it seemed like he actually wanted to. And then Rick, he gets the, right before, you know, during this whole conversation, Rick has pulled his knife out and he has it hidden where Beale can't see it. And after Beale tells Rick to swear on the sword, Rick is looking down, and then when he looks back up, he's got the murder eyes looking straight at Beale, and that's when Beale knows he can just look in his eyes and sees that Rick is wanting to kill him. So Beale's like, oh, nah, damn it, you know, and he's going for his gun, but Rick is quicker than him, and he throws his knife into Beale's shoulder, and he just flies over the desk and tackles him down to the ground. And then, you know, Beale's like, why the hell did you come back? Why didn't you just stay away? And, you know, Beale says that you're really going to let, the world is going to end, but I'm trying to make sure that we don't end. And Rick says that you're a liar. The world's not going to end. We're not going to end. That, you know, I never lost my son or my wife. Both of them brought me back, and that we are unstoppable, one unstoppable life. And Rick stabs Beale through the hand and then proceeds to stab Beale through the chest, killing him. So, yeah, that's the end of Beale right there. And then, let's see. Okay. After Rick kills Beale, let me see. I got something on porn. Hang on one sec. I'm glad that reading is done. Okay, so after Rick kills Beale, Rick calls Thorne to tell her that Beale gave him the Echelon briefing and that Beale went to the woods alone to the same spot that we first saw Beale at in the episode. And Rick also tells Thorne that Beale already gave me something to do, and that's the end of that. And he goes off to he goes off to find Michonne, but before he does that, he's got to figure out what to do with the body. So he sees a crate, so he gets this crate inside. He puts Beale's body in the crate, and then he goes on to try to find Michonne. And Michonne is in the briefing where they were talking about where they were going to get select children from 3 different schools in Portland, and they were going to gas the city before blowing them up. They were gonna save selective children. That doesn't mean all children. I don't think that means all children, and they were just gonna say, to hell with the parents and everybody else, they're getting blown up. Like, that's some messed up crap, man. So, after the dossier has been destroyed, Beale's done. After he's killed, Michonne, she's gonna get ready to leave the place, but then it's weighing heavily on her heart that if they don't try to actually destroy the CRM here, that a bunch of people in Portland are gonna die for no absolute reason. So she goes back in. Rick, he goes into an elevator with the crate with Beale's body, and another CRM soldier, unfortunately for him, gets on the same elevator, and this elevator's taking forever to go. And then, well, the crate, blood starts dripping out of the crate, and Rick notices, and then eventually the CRM soldier notices, and then that's when they gotta fight to the death at that point. And they get off the elevator, and Rick ends up getting the upper hand on the CRM soldier with his prosthetic hand by beating his face in, pretty much. And Rick is getting ready to go back into the elevator. That's when Michonne catches up with him and says that, look, we can't go home yet. We have to stop those bombs. That, we gotta stop the CRM. And Rick is like, pretty much, let's do it. And Michonne asks Rick, what's in the crate? Is that yours? And that's when he shows her. So they end up going to a room where they have these crates, where they have a crate full of grenades, and they end up taking all of the grenades. And then the other CRM soldier that Rick killed, they decide to put his body in there with Beale's body. And you're wondering, why didn't Rick just kill Beale's brain? Well, there's a reason for that. They got a plan that involves the grenades, so they need 2 walkers to do it. So after they take the grenades, and after Rick tells Michonne that Beale told me that I could lead to CRM someday, and she's kind of kind of amused by that, but they gotta get shit done, but they have a moment to make out. I don't think this is the time to really make out. I mean, you could do all that later, Michonne and Rick. But anyway, they grab the grenades and they go to where the bombs are gonna be that they're planning on dropping on Portland. So, Thorne, she goes to the woods to see that Beale isn't there. So then Thorne goes to try to find Rick, and she goes into this one room. I'm not sure if it's Beale's office. It might be the room that they were in with the grenades. That's probably the room where it is. So Thorne goes in there and sees that Rick left the prosthetic hand behind. Now, okay, I kind of don't like this decision by Rick, because, okay, the prosthetic hand would still be very useful, even though the CRM created it. I still would have kept it. I get the thing about him leaving it. It is symbolization of him just saying that he's done with the CRM. I get that, but I just don't think that's very smart by Rick, honestly. He should have kept it no matter who created it. He could have definitely used it. Although, I guess, well, we'll talk about it here in a bit. Hold on one second. I had to get a drink of this water. Whew. Okay, now, Rick left his prosthetic hand, which I don't think that was a smart move. He could have used it knowing what's about to happen. But anyway, okay, so Rick and Michonne, they end up going to this tent with the explosives, with the bombs, and well, they rig up this trap where they place grenades all around the bombs, and then they just tie Beale and the other walker to the grenades, so that way when they walk out of the tent, they'll pull all of the pings off the grenades all at once to blow everything up. And they got that set up, and they're about to run out, and then that's when before that, Thorne realizes, she slowly figures out that Michonne and Rick are up to something, and possibly the one that Rick was trying to get back to. So Rick and Michonne run out of the tent. That's when Thorne stops them and tells them, that they need to put their hands up. And that's where Thorne pretty much confirms her suspicions, telling Rick that you're the one that Rick was wanting to go after this whole time. So they end up, Thorne tells them that they need to go back to the tent and undo whatever they did, and she wants to know where Beale is at, which she has no idea yet. So they're going forward back to the tent, but when Walker, Beale, and the other Walker CRM soldier, when they come out of the tent, they run off in another direction real quickly, and they're going to use this flag to cover themselves from the explosion. A little unrealistic, but whatever. I mean, this isn't real life, so I'll let it pass here. So they end up cutting this flag down, and they cover themselves. Rick and Michonne cover themselves with this big flag, and then the explosions, like, boom, just go off. And I mean, everybody is screwed. Like, everybody that was outside, done for. Except for Rick, Michonne, and Thorne. They are the only possible survivors of this explosion. Everybody that might have been inside, although I don't know if anybody was inside, maybe everybody was outside, and yeah, everybody got blown to smithereens at this point, which was, it was like, holy shit. But, man, now, I really like this episode, I'm not gonna lie, but, however, here's one negative to mixed aspect I have on the season finale. Should Thorne have been the absolute final obstacle in Rick and Michonne's path? Me personally, I don't think she should have been. I think it should have either been Jadis or Beale. That's personally what I think, but it doesn't drag my excitement down for the episode, or my enjoyment down for the episode. So the whole area is, it's all gassed up. You can see somewhat, but I mean, if it would have been at nighttime, it would have been impossible to see anything. So Rick and Michonne get up from their hiding spot, and they're gonna go and take care of Thorne. And, well, Rick says that I'm gonna run after Thorne and, So he goes in the direction of where Thorn is or was, and well, Thorn and Rick get into it. They start fighting. They start trying to kill each other, and then that's when these walkers come up and they're crowding Rick, and he's like, there's like 4 or 5 of them, maybe 6 of them, and he's tussling, and that's when Michonne. By the way, Rick gave Michonne Beale's sword, so I guess that's going to be her new sword, which I don't know how I feel about that, but I mean, whatever. She's got a sword. But anyway, she comes up behind Thorn and tries to kill her, and they end up fighting, and Michonne's asking, where's Rick? Where is he at? And in the process, when Rick and Thorn were fighting, Thorn, she gets all mad at Rick. Thorn does. She says, "What have you done? You destroyed our chance. You destroyed the whole world, blah, blah, blah." At this point, she's already drunk in the Kool-Aid, so she's going to believe the CRM bullshit that's fed to her at this point. And we're going to get back to Michonne and Thorn, and she keeps asking Thorn, where's Rick, and she says behind her, and that's when a walker comes up, and Michonne moves out the way, and while they're fighting, and Michonne uses the walker as a shield, and Thorn takes care of the walker, but then shortly after, Thorn tells Michonne that in this world, love is dead, and Michonne says something about love doesn't die. So, great. After she tells Thorn that love doesn't die, she proceeds to stab Thorn in the side, about in the, kind of the torso area. And then, pretty much, Rick is still dealing with the walkers, by the way, this is kind of funny. It's not supposed to be funny, but it kind of is. So how he gets out of that situation is he has a grenade. He pulls the pin of the grenade, and it blows up all the walkers around him except for him, which is it's kind of funny, but it's not supposed to be. And after that, Rick is fine. Michonne is worried that he died, but nah, they're not killing him off in a spin-off. Rick is fine, even though that's unrealistic. Whatever, I'm fine with it. Whatever, it's fine. So they pretty much, they leave Thorn, both Rick and Michonne, they leave Thorn to die, and they get the hell up out of there, and that's the end of that. So, yeah, the CRM is completely destroyed. Okay, I get that some people are going to be disappointed by that. Yeah, some people are definitely going to be disappointed the fact that the CRM was destroyed so easily by Rick and Michonne. And me, where do I fall on it? I think it's for the story that they were telling, which is purely a love story between Rick and Michonne about both of them conquering the odds, fighting together. I actually really quite enjoyed it. Although, is the finale my favorite episode? It's close, but no, it's episode 5 I still think is the best episode. I just really love the Jada stuff in episode 5. Although this one, this is kind of hard, man, because I feel like all of the episodes were pretty solid. So I kind of get from the standpoint that people are going to be disappointed in this episode because the CRM was quickly dealt with. And it doesn't seem like they're going to be, obviously they're not going to do anything else with them. I mean, unless, I don't know, I'm not sure how they could do this. I'm not sure how they could work with this. What if, the thing about Beale, who was he answering to? That really doesn't get revealed. What if there's a secret society that created the CRM that isn't been found out yet, and they're pissed off at Rick and Michonne, and they're just letting them have this small victory? Could that be a possibility? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching there, but that's something to throw out. That's kind of like a Hunger Games situation. If you've seen the first couple of Hunger Game movies, you'll know what I'm talking about. I know that's a weird comparison, Walking Dead and Hunger Games, but what I mean by that is the fact that Katniss Everdeen defiled the Capitol, and then President Snow, he let her have a minor victory before ultimately coming back and really making it personal and making it hurt. And I don't know, could we see a situation like that? I don't know, or maybe the CRM is truly done. I'd be interested to see what y'all think on that, because that is an idea that I had. It's hard to say. But anyway, okay, so the CRC, which is the city, they have reported that, the CRM is basically no good, that they're gonna take full control, and that people can actually leave for the first time without getting in trouble. So the CRC, this is great. Shit, you know what? Enough of this. Alright, so the CRC, they're taking Rick and Michonne back home to reunite with Judith and RJ. Yes, they have a reunion of their two children, and they rush it, which that kind of sucks. But it's good that they're finally reunited, and they get back, and the helicopters that the CRC are flying, they only have one white circle, as opposed to the CRM having the three white circles. The CRC only has one white circle on their helicopters, and yeah, they have plenty of helicopters, but it's the CRC, not the CRM. That's mainly the citizens that were pretty much held prisoner, but they're now free, which, great. And they go running to, Michonne and Rick go running to Judith and RJ, and they're hugging. First, Judith and RJ are hugging Michonne. They're talking about, how much I missed both of y'all. Y'all grew up. Great, got the lovey-dovey reunion. And then Judith looks and sees Rick, and this was even though it was a rushed reunion, it was still pretty good. Oh man, I couldn't help the first time. A little bit of the waterworks was hitting, because man, especially Judith being able to see her father again. Well, let's be honest, her stepfather at this current age, because, let's think about it. Shane is Judith's daughter. But anyway, Judith, she don't know that, which, that might be for the best, but anyway, she goes and hugs Rick, and she says, "I knew it, Dad. I knew you were out there still alive. I just didn't want to, I just didn't want you left alone out there." And he says, "I wasn't left alone out there." And, oh man, it's so sweet, man. Just imagine if we could have gotten Judith and Carl and RJ. Oh my goodness, especially Carl being in that equation. Oh, that would have just, the waterworks would have went even more. But for what we got under the circumstances, I mean, it was good. I enjoyed it. And then Rick, he meets RJ for the first time, and RJ asks, "You're the brave man?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he says that, "I knew you would be okay." And Rick asks how, and he says, "Oh, I just believed." Which, alright, RJ's acting, yeah, it's not the best, but I've seen worse kid actors, so I'll give him some slack. But Judith, absolutely great to see her again. And they all hug each other, and the CRC helicopters take off, and they go back to the CRC, and that's the end of it. So yeah, I quite enjoyed this spin-off, this episode. Now, the time has come where I'm going to reveal my rankings of the spin-offs. I said I was going to do it when this series concluded. In third place is Dead City. Negan makes that spin-off watchable, but Maggie is an absolute Karen, so that's why it's in third place. Although I am looking forward to season 2 of Dead City to see what they do with it. And in second place, this might be a shocker to some, this might be a shocker to nobody. In second place, I hate to do it, but second place, I got Daryl Dixon. Yes, I know, Daryl Dixon is my favorite. He absolutely is. But I just personally liked The Ones Who Live a lot better. Maybe not a lot better, that's over-exaggeration. I liked it just slightly more so than Daryl Dixon. Although the variant stuff with Daryl Dixon is really fantastic. So I got Daryl Dixon just slightly above or slightly below The Ones Who Live, but miles ahead of Dead City. That's for sure. And in first place, I got The Ones Who Live. I absolutely loved it. The fact that Michonne and Rick reunite, and they're able to conquer everything, and they reunite with Judith and RJ, and you know, also the connections with Jadis, and yeah, I thought it was really great. I enjoyed it. Like, honestly, The Ones Who Live and Daryl Dixon are nearly neck and neck. Both of them are like that good. And man, I don't think I forgot anything. I know this has got to be a long review. I'm guessing over an hour. I'm guessing over an hour. I'll find out when I go to edit. So, yeah. Are we going to get a season 2 of The Ones Who Live? I don't know. What? We'll have to wait and see. Maybe they won't do a season 2 of The Ones Who Live, but perhaps we could still get a big crossover event where Rick and Michonne and the communities cross into what Dead City is doing and all the stuff that's happening with Daryl Dixon and the variant walkers in France. Perhaps they will make a type of spin-off crossover, like bringing all of them into one thing. I think that's possible. Although I could be totally wrong, and I don't know, we'll see. I'm excited to jump into Daryl Dixon Season 2, which I know that's going to be coming out in the summer, sometime in the summer, and that's when I'll be back with my spoiler reviews. But until then, I am done with my spoiler reviews, and yeah, we're gonna get ready to wrap it up shortly. So yeah, what if you have any thoughts on The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live? Did you enjoy the season finale, or were you disappointed by it? Which I could understand people being disappointed by it. I'm not gonna... I get it, but I enjoyed it. Is it my favorite episode? No, it's not my favorite episode. That honor still goes to episode 5. I really loved what they did with the stuff with Jadis and Gabriel and Rick and Michonne in that episode. But the season finale was definitely explosive. Literally explosive, which is great, but it might be disappointing to some people, and I could see that. So, let me... Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. Wow, 15,000. Yeah, this video's gotta be over an hour for sure. So, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here, guys. That's all I got for you guys for today. And if you have any thoughts on The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, on Rick, Michonne, if you think this will be the last time we might see them, if you have any thoughts on any of the characters or The Walking Dead in general, feel free to let me know down in the comments. I want to thank each and every one of you for stopping by and for your continued support. Or if you're new, welcome in for the first time. All of you are very awesome, and I thank you again. And don't forget to hit the bell and switch on all notifications so you know the second I upload to YouTube. I am Buckbeak, and I'm gonna go fly away back to my nest. Until next time, bye guys.